Good evening. It's evening for me. Welcome to the Big Sound Podcast. I am Brian Cook. Um, I am not at the Big Sound skyscraper this week. I am in the Big Sound Doomsday Bunker where I'm prepping for the end of the world. I'm loading guns. I have dusting the blunt with storable food. Choking to death. 48 hours without a cigarette, which is good. I got my nicotine patches. Thank you, Department of Veterans Affairs. It's the only reason I'm not out committing crimes right now or burning down a certain dentist's office. We'll get into that later. Um, it is this week's episode is entitled Episode 13, the Bad Luck 13 Riot Extravaganza. And I say bad luck because it we had a little bad luck in the production end this week, if you'll notice. Maybe you didn't notice. Producer Quinn's not here. He is out of town banging his mistress, which is his constitutional right. He can do that. So I'm at a different location with a different rig while he is enjoying himself, and God bless him. Um, the Rhodes Scholars downstairs playing Snoop Doggy Dogg so loud we can hear it through the walls are studying for the SAT test. I hope they get into UT this fall. Jesus Christ, that's not getting fucking old. Um, I'm drinking a Dr. Pepper. Cheers. Oh my lord, I think I'm dying of an allergy attack. So if the audio sounds a little goofy this week, that is why. Otherwise, we're gonna keep to that content schedule because that's why we're here for general audience crowd pleasing comedy. I'm just like Bob Saget with the head injury and everything. So we're ready to go. So yeah, I'm flying solo this week. Producer Quinn will be back, I think, in 2 weeks. So you got a couple more of these. This is all subject to change and not confirmed yet, but next week we might have something special for you. The first video episode of Big Sound to be continued. As Jin Saki used to say, we'll circle back to that. That is not confirmed, and it will happen at some point between now and Christmas, but might happen next week. We'll see. I've got my hands full with this right now. I've got my hands full with all kinds of stuff because I'm trying to better myself, as are you, as are most of us. We stopped smoking K2 in front of the 7-Eleven with our no shoes, for the most part. We did have a technical difficulty last week that was caused by our crippling K2 addiction. I apologize. Oh, my Lord. But we're back on track where, I talk about recovery and sobriety a lot on this show. And this week, not just with the show, with a bunch of other stuff, is proof that I'm on the right track. I'm doing the right thing. Not just like morally the right thing. And, yeah, that's good too. That's also important. But I'm in this comedy game for the long term. I plan on doing this the rest of my life. So we got to do things like take care of our teeth, take care of our physical health, take care of our mental health, take care of finances, take care of all that good stuff. Some decent fucking shoes, that kind of thing. So I went to the dentist. I went to two dentists. I guess that's the point of this. I went to one, and this lady was a quack. What she recommended was barbaric. I guess she went to dental school in Haiti. I don't know it really bothered me. In the moment there, I felt overwhelmed because it felt like a used car salesman. But then I left and went about my day, and it was in the back of my head. Something's not right here. I get home that night, and something's not right here. So instead of throwing a leaping, screaming fit and throwing shit across the room and yelling my voice and blaming Trump and all the stupid idiot behavior I would do last year, I didn't do that. What I do instead? Calm myself. I wasn't out of control, but controlled my emotions. One of the big things I learned in recovery and in rehab. Control my emotions. A lot of my problems are character defects, whatever, that kind of stuff. It's not using drugs and alcohol like I'm hooked on smack and have a physical dependency. I have learned, and I mean recently, like this year, how to properly manage stress and how to control my emotions. And I put that into practice with this bullshit with the dentist. So, one, I look at who else is in my network. There are plenty of other dentists in my network. It does. I'm within my constitutional rights, just like producer Quinn can go out of town and bang his mistress. I can find another dentist and get a second opinion, which I did. All right. And I can also read up on these quacks from the first office, and I did not like what I read online. And yada yada yada. I made the right decision. The real dentist, the second one, the one I'm going to be going to for years now, because I really like the cut of this guy's jib, but they were half the price of the first place. And I didn't go across the street to save a buck. It's really honestly, money wasn't the issue. It's the quality of the care and not overloading me with expensive, unnecessary procedures. The quack at the first place wanted to extract a tooth and not put an implant in, like we're hillbillies in Tennessee with a pair of pliers. I cannot believe someone with a degree actually said that. What a fucking idiot. Waste of life. So I went and got a second opinion. It, a much more pleasant procedure ahead of me that costs way less money with a place that I don't want to burn down, and life is good. So if I can manage my stress and control my emotions, you can too. Other comics in Austin, you can too. Guy in the Air Force in Florida, you can too. We all can do it. Life will be better by doing it. So, I guess that's where the bad luck comes in, is because producer Quinn did not. Hey, he's flying around, he's moving girls in and out of hotel rooms, he's got his stuff going on. I thought this trip of his was next month, not this month. So that's where all the miscommunication was from. And so we got the dentist, we got the issue with the show, we got other stuff you don't know or care about, but we're handling everything the right way. That is what's important here. And we're not forsaking one thing for the other. It's where we're overcoming this stuff, but staying on top of work, staying on top of the podcast, staying on top of the comedy, staying on top of the household, not procrastinating, not letting shit pile up. So when bad luck comes along, it's the information saying, this isn't my fault. This isn't my fault. It's not fair. This isn't my fault. No, it's not, but you got to deal with it anyway. And I did. And you will. And we're all going to be in this Austin bullshit together. And like I always say every episode, if you don't live in Austin, I envy you so much. This goddamn place. On that note, let's take a quick revisit to, I believe it was episode 3. Episode 3, we had the Austin Bergstrom art scandal at the airport. Okay, so this is how the commies in City Hall think. They shelve the issue when everyone's mad, when they're getting phone calls and emails. They wait a couple months, then they try to sneak it back in. And they almost got away with it this time. It sounds like Scooby-Doo because it is. These fucking idiot politicians, all of them, 100% all of them. It's not Democrat, Republican. It's not left, right. It's, corruption versus integrity. I guess that's a good way to look at it. And just, I feel the same way about this, the Bergstrom art scandal, as I do about the SB3, which is the hemp bill. Simply put, on that one, the idiot lieutenant governor wants to put 53,000 people out of work and kill an $8 billion business because he doesn't like weed. Who gives a shit what he does or doesn't like? It's not his government, it's ours. Why we have a republic, he's supposed to represent us. He's supposed to do a lot of things. But there is no fucking way you can say you're free market when you're acting like a nanny state retard. There's no way you can say you're for small government when you want more cops and more regulation and more bullshit for people to jump through. You have no problem with people doing Percocet and alcohol all day long, but oh my God, you smoke or you hit a vape pen, you're straight to jail. That's their attitude. That's their theory, and it's fucking nonsense, right? So that's at the state level. Here at the local level, we have the Bergstrom art scandal. To remind you all, February, March, earlier this year, they wanted $10 million to put new artwork at the airport here in Austin. And all the artists were at that time were from New York, because there aren't multiple art schools here in Austin, and there aren't a bunch of local artists who would do the entire mural for a pizza absolutely ridiculous that they say that they support local artists when they do not. Cannot wait to waste millions of dollars on garbage from people from out of state. So I guess we're making progress. Instead of $10 million to New Yorkers, now it's $2.5 million to people from Chicago to redo the artwork in the airport, which is also ridiculous. It ever heard of the University of Texas? You get that whole art department. They would love to have their first credit coming out of school being I did the airport. I was, the top senior or whatever, however that works over there. And I did the airport, or a whole team of them did, and they did sections of it. For $2.5 million for artwork is ridiculous anyway. Who are you hiring? Michelangelo? Get the fuck out of here. You're going to fly someone in from Chicago to do this? You have. Fuck these politicians. That's the point. They try to do this shit. This is as bad as what I talked about last week, where they want the support columns for the park on top of the highway. Look, I know 4 different comics that live under the highway. No one wants to hang out on top of the highway. And like every other park in Austin, it would turn to a fentanyl camp immediately. So the entire concept is ridiculous. I wonder if this is these people's first day on Earth. It's what I've always thought about Mark Zuckerberg. I swear to God, Mark Zuckerberg is an alien desperately trying to convince you he's a human being. And that's how I feel about the city council people. They're ridiculous. That in my adventures in downtown Austin, I have made the cops laugh multiple times by saying this. Because imagine that. Well, first off, we live in a weird world where Brian Cook is now 2025. I'm a friend of law enforcement. Didn't see that one coming. But I wouldn't say I know these cops. I don't hang out with them, but I see them a lot. And I talk to them because I'm a rational human being and they have thoughts and feelings and everything else too. And they agree with all of us, not just me, with us on a lot of this stuff. So where I get the cops laughing is City Hall is second in Lavaca. Capitol Building is 10th in Congress, 11th in Congress. So it's maybe call it 10 blocks, 10 blocks in between. I dare the mayor to walk the 10 blocks from City Hall to the Capitol Building alone and unarmed. Dare him to. That gets the cops every fucking time. Where the rubber meets the road, the reality of it is I'm out there every day. It's good enough for me, but not good enough for little Lord Fuckpants. It's the height of hypocrisy. You know how the army and the military defines leadership? It has a specific definition. It's not one of those, what does freedom mean to me? No, leadership has an actual definition. Here it is. You never ask a subordinate to do something you're unwilling to do yourself. That's leadership. It's the difference between, hey, shoot that guy versus, hey, cover me while I shoot that guy. Now, that's an extreme example. But again, I live and work in downtown Austin, so maybe it's not an extreme example, but you see my point of the difference between that. And I would say they lead from the back, which is an insult, and not derogatory. I can't remember the word right now, but it's not good if someone says that to you. Um, I don't think they're leading at all. I think it's just pure corruption, and they can't wait to. If they're not straight up putting our tax money in their pocket, they do for $2.5 million, even if that's down from 10. That money's getting laundered and skimmed and all that stuff along the way. It's a ridiculous amount of money. So even if they're not putting it directly in their pocket, they're spending it on themselves. They're redecorating the office. They're ordering DoorDash every day. They're, Lyft and Uber. They can invent new ways to piss away our money. So it's the Bergstrom art scandal is still unresolved, and it's a ridiculous. Other cities don't run their business like this. And I'm not saying other cities are great. For the most part, the large metropolitan areas in America are in uniform with their shittiness. But we just have that extra level of misery other places don't. Dallas and Houston aren't run like this. I mean, Houston has that moron Lena Hidalgo, but they have one moron. We have 12 morons. We're overflowing with morons. I didn't even get to UT in the Capitol building yet. That's just in City Hall. So you see my point with this. And to sum this all up, to avoid future Bergstrom art scandals, here's my suggestion. You count the suburbs, you count the metro area, Austin's about 2 million people. In the last election last year, an election for mayor, everyone voted for Trump and Biden or Harris or whatever. In the actual mayor's contest, you know how many votes were cast? 50,000 out of 2 million people. Get off the couch and go vote. So, cheers. Have another sip of my Dr. Pepper here. And we will continue with the Bad Luck 13 Riot Extravaganza. Shout out to Ben Loesch for helping me with it, coming in the clutch with the graphic design and the moral support and the K2 and everything else we need. Automotive work. He's a player for real, as they say in Oakland. And but my own Bad Luck 13. Let's take a glimpse into the past. That I don't can't remember if I told this story or not. I kind of told it in the origin episode, but being a comedian was not like my life's goal. It is now, but I wasn't one of these people like Dave Chappelle or Bill Hicks or any of them that I used to stay up late and watch Letterman, and I want to do that. I wanted to do it since I was 12. This never entered my head until the COVID lockdowns happened, and I was 44 years old in 2022. So you do the math on that. And it was something good came out of a lot of bad luck. And I'm not going to sit here and whine and cry about it, but just to give you the highlights that, I got laid off twice in about 6 months. I moved from a kind of 60% shitty neighborhood to 100% shitty neighborhood. I had a nightmare of a landlord. Just one thing after another, after another, after another kept happening, and it looked like there was no end in sight. And you ever say something as a joke, but you mean it? I swear to God, I was horribly depressed during the entire Biden administration. Started using again, shit got out of hand, and I went to my first open mic at the Creek in the Cave just out of, I'd say it's a combination of boredom, malice, and spite. But it was really just to get out of the house. I thought about it for years, and it's like, hey, let's actually try it. Very first open mic, get a genuine laugh, not a golf clap, not a pity laugh, a genuine one. Went home, wrote some more stuff, came back the next week. That was the rate I was at about the first 6 months, is one a week. But you know, uh, it started building, and no one knew my name till like 2.5 years later. But I stuck with it and got the results out of it, and now it's really going somewhere. So something good came out of something bad, and I guess that's the lesson here: is that, hey, everyone's the rain falls on the just and the unjust. Everybody's going to go through some shit, but you're not going to stay there. And if you do stay there, you're only going to stay there until you get yourself out of it. And Superman's not coming to save us. And I'm an enthusiastic Trump supporter, but Trump is not coming to Shreveport, Louisiana to cut your grass. Any kind of, you know, I like what Tim Dillon said. No one's going to make you famous except for you. I see a lot of people here in Austin who, you know, they're the funniest guy in Boulder, Colorado, or wherever they're from, and they come here and it's I'm going to work at the mothership, and Joe Rogan's going to love me, and I'm going to be on the show, and I'm going to get to blah blah blah. And it's Joe Rogan is not going to solve all your problems. There's so many people that think they're going to win the Joe Rogan lottery, and they're not. You know why? Because no one's going to make you famous except for you. And I use famous with an asterisk. Everyone wants different things out of it. It's I think I'm at the appropriate level of fame where I'm known in the comedy world, but I can go into HEB and no one gives a shit. Like I still have my regular life. I will not lie. It is flattering being recognized all the time, but I'm not Tiger Woods. I'm not Britney Spears. I'm not Tom Brady. I'm not somebody who, Tom Cruise goes into HEB, life stops. That would be annoying. So I guess my version of quote unquote famous is having a career and being able to do this long term, which I'm well on my way to doing. Some people want to make money. Some people are out for revenge. Some people are out for whatever you're out for. I guess that's what I should say instead of famous, because not everyone wants fame. And honestly, it's fleeting. You know, I've seen a lot, even in my 3 years of doing comedy, I've already seen people, if they're the hottest thing for about 6 months and they're gone. That happens. That is a far more common story than being the next Dave Chappelle. That's how sports are. Sports, not everyone gets to be Jose Canseco. Not everyone gets to be Steph Curry. If you like hockey, not everyone gets to be Connor McDavid or who's the other guy? Sidney Crosby. There's those handful of elite players who make hundreds of millions of dollars and everyone wears their jerseys. But the far more common story is you do well in high school, college, and the minors. You're in the pros for a few years. You may or may not make some money, and then you're coaching high school, or you're selling used cars, or you're become an actor. It's really you only have a few years at the top, and then you're off to something else. And it's definitely what happened to me in music. And I didn't even get to the top. We got barely out of the bottom, and it was over. But it. I see a lot of people are horribly disappointed and don't know what to do when it crashes down. And I don't know. I guess I think defensively in that regard. I'm using the sports metaphor. I'm not talking about defending your home from a tyrannical government or something. We spent the first half of the show talking about that. No, I mean, you know, I like to think I'm not conceding ground. There's a lot of people that they get over their skis, they get over the handlebars, and it all comes crashing down. And that I don't think you can blame that on anybody. And that's a lot of what's the difference between bad luck and a series of bad decisions? There may not be much of a difference here on Big Sound in the Big Sound. What do we call it? Oh my God, the Doomsday Bunker. Yeah, that's where we are. Where we're what are we doing? We did the storable food. We did the whatever you do at Doomsday Bunkers. I assume a lot of masturbation goes on in Doomsday Bunkers. But don't you also think that these doomsday preppers with their creepy bunkers out in like Utah or whatever, they want the apocalypse to happen? Otherwise, they wasted their life savings on nonsense, on shit from the Army surplus store. So they really need the apocalypse to happen. Otherwise, they're going to look like morons when this is all said and done. It's like those the people who built bomb shelters in the 50s and 60s because the Russians were going to nuke us. It really happened. I know it sounds silly. It sounded silly saying it, but it really happened. Here on Big Sound with Brian Cook, without producer Quinn, because he is in the middle of a future Me Too scandal right now. But then we'll talk about that next week when he gets back, if he gets back. He's coming back. And I guess I don't know. I didn't prep for this episode like I usually do. I'm on a different rig. I'm on a different everything, but it's going up. Whether it's good or bad, it's better than most. But hitting that deadline is really important to me. It's another lesson I learned in rehab and in recovery. Is all my counselors and therapists and everybody say this. It's I'm holding myself to a higher standard these days. And I'm not going to let 7 days go by without a new episode. That's how we're building the audience. That's how you heard about this, whoever you are out there. And I assume Matthew McConaughey is one of the listeners. He's a big supporter of the show. But whoever you are and wherever you're from, part of it is you expect that next one next week. And last year was filled with a bunch of that shit. Oh, we'll get to it later. We'll get to it later. We're not. Later is now. There's no reason. What the hell else am I going to do except for this? What, watch more Seinfeld? Read more comic books? Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but we can do that after the work's done because we're holding ourselves to a higher standard here on Big Sound with Brian Cook. Love the show. I love that you're supporting the show and listening to it. This is great for everyone. So, yeah, we'll do the Big Sound Book Club again. A lot of the Big Sound Book Club members, which I have not been on the ball marketing and promoting that. And there's a whole marketing strategy coming once Quinn's back into town, but one step at a time. I'm going to talk about my own reading habits, which I think I've done the last 3 episodes in a row, but it's been the pattern of all this year where I'm reading very, very, oh, I didn't talk about that on the show. That was in my interview in Blaze Magazine is coming out this month. Look for it in a head shop or a Planet K or a whatever near you. I will, once it's actually in my hands, I will show it to you. But I'm very excited for the interview to come out. It was one of the interview questions. was, what are you reading lately? And I've got two categories of reading. And one is pretty heavy nonfiction books, stuff about the world around us, but I'm not talking about baby owls. I'm talking about government corruption, the origin of success. That was Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Terrific book. Haven't started the Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie yet, but I have it. It's on the shelf over there. What I'm reading right now, nonfiction heavy wise, is The Essential Mae Brussel, someone I've talked about on the show. She was a talk show host in the 70s and 80s, did live week by week coverage. She started with the Kennedy assassination and then went into the SLA with Patty Hearst, Jonestown, Watergate, Reagan, um, the spy scandal in the Navy, Iran Contra, fascinating stuff. Well, I found this book, much like the Bill Hicks book I talked about a couple weeks ago, where it's her interviews and a lot of her, assorted writings from over the years that weren't on her radio show. It is fascinating stuff. I hate that there's you get older, you get more information, you look at the world different. There's a few things I do disagree with, but you're not going to agree with everyone 100% all the time. And you got to think that she was on the air when people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Robert F. Kennedy got assassinated. So I'll cut her some slack when she starts saying everything is racist, because that reminds me of what's going on now, where everyone thinks everything's racist, and it's not everything's racist. Like when I was eating dinner with Jose today, and I screamed in the middle of Chili's, not everything's a hate crime, but that's another story. It I guess in 1964, 1968, maybe everything was racist. That was literally the Civil Rights Act was 64, but it to her back then is not the excuse that people use it as now. And what do I see by excuse? And I'm not talking about the past, I'm talking about current events. There was an actor named Jonathan Joss, I believe was his name. You know him better as John Redcorn from King of the Hill. He was on True Detective. He was on Parks and Recreation. He was a working actor until 2023. And last weekend he got shot by his neighbor. Very sad. Thoughts and prayers. But what you didn't know, what I saw, because I'm in downtown Austin every day, remember the beginning of this show, was they had the Austin Television Festival last weekend. And they premiered a new episode of King of the Hill at the Paramount Theater. And Mike Judge and all the voice actors, everyone was there. And uh, the Jonathan Joss guy was not invited back to be John Redcorn. So he crashes the thing and starts harassing everyone and gets kicked out by security. That's Friday night. Saturday night, there's a comedy club here in Austin, which I've done. Great place, the Green Room up by Lakeline Mall. But he was supposed to be doing a podcast interview, and they did the interview, and he did, I think, a stand-up set or a spoken word thing. He had some kind of performance. But then he lost his marbles again about this King of the Hill thing. And that's Saturday. And Sunday, his neighbor shoots him. And he had a thing with the neighbor that there was this whole neighborhood. He burned his house down accidentally by cooking meth in the living room. When I said he was a working actor until 2023, drugs took this guy down hard. The neighbors have nothing nice to say about him. But the media and all the social media websites and everyone wants to paint this thing as a hate crime. He was killed because he had a trans wife or whatever they had going on. And I'm sure that didn't help. Don't get me wrong. It probably contributed. There were probably some things said in the heat of the moment that were inappropriate, but it wasn't. There's a gay guy, let's kill him. That is not what happened. He had the worst weekend of all time, and it ended in a shooting. So that's where that's my example of everything's racist. In this case, everything's homophobic. Are we looking at all the evidence and the circumstances of this? Now, there's a big difference between this actor John Joss and what happened to Malcolm X. Malcolm X was definitely assassinated because he was bringing everyone together. So that's my point of this. And when Mae Brussel says one sentence I don't like, we don't get bent out of shape. We try to look at the whole body of work. Now, that's the heavy reading. And as you can tell, this shit gets heavy real quick. The non-heavy part is this is a byproduct of being sober and running my business right and being on a good routine. Is I've rediscovered my love of comic books, and I'm reading a lot of this stuff from when I was a kid, and literally reading the old issues, GI Joe, Transformers, Spider-Man, X-Men. Those are the big ones. I picked up a couple Punisher issues today. Those were cool. A lot of stuff from the 80s and 90s. But thank Lord, um, all those characters and stories and series are still going now. I bought a new Transformers issue today. GI Joe is still going. Uh, Punisher got a little weird, but then everything Marvel's done in the last 5 years has been weird. Longer than 5 years. Marvel started getting real weird about 2018. I did not dig the female Thor. Um, the Riri Williams, Ironheart, no thank you. Marvel got by Disney and went to shit. Bought by Disney and then went to shit. And hopefully, I'm cheering anyone's downfall, but hopefully this new Fantastic Four movie does so terrible that Disney considers selling off Marvel to someone else. I would love to see them be an independent company again. I'm not sure that's going to happen. Basically, since the mid 80s, Marvel Comics is the favorite plaything of corporate raiders on Wall Street. It has been owned by like Revlon Cosmetics. It has been owned by Disney owned it now. Who owned it in the middle? Oh, Toy Biz Toys, that they owned it, or someone else in there. It was like a Cadence Finance Group or something. That anytime there's a huge corporate merger and they can add something like that, Marvel Comics is one of those. Gibson Guitar is one of those. There's a lot of these things that are really attractive to Wall Street dickheads, and I don't know. Maybe there's some divine intervention and they're allowed to steer their own ship again. Those are the best years of that company, and they do their best work when the dickheads from Pepperdine with the marketing degrees stay the hell out of the office. Let the writers write, let the artists draw. Please, ideally. And keep the Hollywood directors away from this shit because the movies have been terrible lately. And we've talked about that in previous episodes. I do not like modern movies, but we're not solving that tonight. So, yeah, we're doing heavy nonfiction reading. We're doing comic books as relaxation. We're criticizing the city government. That's a rich vein of gold for me. They never disappoint. By disappointing, they never disappoint. How ironic. And Producer Quinn will be back in town soon. You can see me around town. I don't have any like featured shows coming up, but I'm at Shakespeare's every week. I need to get over to the NAR bar more. Shout out to Eric Gallegos and Delilah's Front Porch for having me out today. That was a big blast. I'm forgetting somewhere else. Where else? The Creek in the Cave, but Tiny's Bar in Texas. Courtney and Sherry over there, Tiny's Bar in Texas. Y'all are always real good to me. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting Big Sound with Brian Cook here in Austin. God help us all.